It's the boy, Bubba Lutz, coming through. Ella, clutch, flawless, can't be touched. It's your boy, Bubba Lutz. Yeah, I need that hot take. I need the truth and everything that is not fake. So tell me who's the GOAT.
Welcome back, Bubba Bunch, to another edition of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast. This is episode 268, and boy, do we have some tea to spill. Oh, it is such a fucking good day for NFL news, unless you're a lawyer, but like it's gonna be so much fun to talk about all this.
You know, the NFL just decided to wake up today. It was like, you know what? Let's let them have a field day with all this stuff that's going on.
Violence.
Right now.
Yeah. It fills every part of the spectrum: the good, the bad, the very ugly. Right. I don't like it. It's nice to have a podcast where it's like, what do we talk about first?
Yeah, you know, you could literally start off with the good. You can start off with, like you said, the bad. You can start off with the holy shit, it's about to go down.
Yeah. Let's just talk about the games real quick, because I think that's where it was like, okay, cool. One of the games was kind of predictable. I mean, they still made it like a pretty competitive game, considering that they beat them twice throughout the season, the 49ers and the Rams. And then you had the
coldest man on this planet.
Just the scene from Spider-Man. What was it? Spider-Man 2? Or was it the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, and like he saves all those people on the train and they're like carrying him above?
Spider-Man 2.
And then they're like, careful. He's a hero.
And it's just Joe Shiesty's face.
It's Joe Shiesty with the glasses.
Oh,
it embodies what this man has done to America, because not only are the Bengals that true underdog, considering that they won, what, 2 games last year?
2 games.
Yeah. Like, they didn't have their quarterback. He was out because they basically tore his entire knee up because they couldn't protect him. And to go from that, from Zach Taylor going from either you start winning or you're out of here, and now he finds himself in the Super Bowl, this team finds themselves in the Super Bowl, and Joe Shiesty becomes a top 5 quarterback in the league and beats Patrick Mahomes, but more importantly, saves us from Patrick Mahomes' wife and his brother. And all those TikToks that would come on Super Bowl weekend.
You know, the whole... Okay, so look, right? All I'm going to say about the situation is this. The whole TikTok thing, it was extremely annoying, but we're used to annoying celebrities, right? So that wasn't what... You know, it was annoying, but it wasn't like enough for me to cancel him. Me, the part that really got me upset, and the part that like I was like, oh yeah, no, this guy is over with, is what he tried to do to that small bar. Oh, and let me tell you what, the way that small bar clap backed,
Explain to me, because I'm confused. I may not have seen this.
You probably did. Do you remember? It was about a couple months ago. Apparently, the story is that Jackson Mahomes was out with about 10 or 15 of his friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
TLDR, they tried going into the bar. The bar was full. They couldn't serve him. He made a big old show just because his last name is Mahomes. And they kicked him out. And he tried to destroy them by writing this like crazy thing on his Instagram and like trashing them and all that. And oh my goodness, the bar absolutely let him have it. Oh, I love that bar. If I were in Kansas City, I would go to that bar and spend at least a good chunk of my savings there just to support them.
It was savage yet professional.
Extremely professional.
Extremely.
And you know what sucks is that they still have to delete it because, you know, they're good people.
Oh, they did.
They deleted it because they're good people. They shouldn't have, but
they did. They're like, don't worry, we'll save some of your pride.
Yeah. So, you know, it is what it is.
So here's my thing on it. Okay, I didn't have a problem with I believe her name's Brittany. I want to say her. Yeah. So I didn't have a problem at all when she got torched on social media when it came to like the pouring champagne. Yeah. And she was just like, you know, spraying the crowd after their win, and she was celebrating with everyone. And she's like, oh, you're like literally pouring a champagne bottle on like people that are like poor or like that have less money than you. You make it seem like you're better than people. I'm like, to be honest, I would do the same thing. Like, I was like, let's pop bottles. Let's have a good time. Like, we're going to the AFC Championship. where we're most likely gonna win because it's the Bengals and they literally don't have an offensive line. So and we're the Chiefs, we're better than them. And in that moment, if I was a Chiefs fan and I'm getting champagne poured on me, I'm not gonna be like, why is Brittany Matthews out here doing that? It makes me feel like poor people. Like, I'm not gonna think of it that way. I'm just in the moment, celebration, let's have a good time. But she got torched for that. Jackson, though, is a man who doesn't read the room. That's the type of guy that you just don't want to associate with because he probably makes it about himself and he wants the attention.
Yeah.
Because if it was a matter of him making a few of those TikToks very early on the sideline and people like torch him for it, give him a lot of shit for it, and then like afterwards he doesn't do it, he's kind of like, oh, I don't want to deal with that anymore. I would have been like, you know what? I'm sorry for all like the bullying, but it's a good thing that you stopped. It's a really good thing because you save yourself a lot of trouble. But he kept going and it got worse. And then he built himself a little ego of like, well, I'm just gonna do my own thing. I'm Jackson Mahomes. Like, I get all these followers, I got all these views. Like, I'm gonna keep doing it to annoy people. And I'm like, you're kind of asking for it at this point. Like, not like I'm not gonna hate on him. I'm just saying like, you didn't deserve it, but you also asked for it in a way.
Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. It's over. That's not,
But go home, make your TikToks on the way to fucking Kansas City because you ain't gonna be at SoFi Stadium doing them.
I saw last thing I'll say so we can move on. I saw a funny tweet today and it was like, I wonder why Patrick Mahomes went to overtime these past 2 games, trying to make it as long as possible. He has to go see.
Yes.
Like, oh, that's mean. That's mean. But it's
kind of true.
It's a funny.
It really is. Look, it is so nice to see I don't even think that you could say that they are no longer dysfunctional, but for close to 30 years, this Bengals team has been dysfunctional. Their organization has been dysfunctional.
Yeah, and even with the times, I think it was the 17-year period with Marvin Lewis, a lot of the times with these teams that they have, really bad stretches of seasons, right? As long as they make the playoffs, like that's good, right? Like if the Lions go to the playoff for the next 3 years, great.
Detroit
right?
will take it.
Great, right? But with the Bengals situation, it was like, oh, we're here again. Can we win this time? Like that's how it got with like Marvin Lewis and the Bengals. So, this was a very like special situation when it came to these Bengals. And I'm telling you, when you have the coldest man in America, Joe Shiesty, walking into not Cincinnati Stadium, walking into Arrowhead with his giant jacket,
fur
and those
jacket,
Cartier glasses. By the way, I just ordered mine. If you want some, I'll buy you one too.
They're definitely from China, right?
Yeah, for
Thailand.
Sure. Yeah, something like that.
Good quality.
So when he's just walking in there, and this dude is walking in here like, "What's up? I'm gonna come and take this chip from you.
What's up, baby? Take me out to dinner,
dude." This guy is like the literal definition of swagger. I don't think besides him, who's been the coldest guy in the NFL since Joe Burrow?
Rodrigo Blankenship. Easy. Have you seen his pictures with Quavo? Made a TikTok on it.
You know what? I feel like one of the best nights of my life would be having a beer with Rodrigo Blankenship and building a whole Lego set. That'd be sick.
That sounds like an absolute blast.
That literally sounds like I wouldn't want to leave his house. I'd be like, Rodrigo, we'll do this tomorrow. No, bro, I'm staying here. What you mean? Let's go right now.
He just seems like a nice, wholesome guy, But Joe gives you that like tingling feeling,
Yeah.
He's like,
bro.
He gives you that feeling of like, I'm in the presence of someone, just like a god.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't carry himself to like a super high standard. He's just a guy living.
Good
And
guy.
then he
Good
and
guy,
then
Joe Burrow,
he pulls out the gat, you know, he just chilling.
and then like Jamar is just like in the background, like doing the Grady for some whatever reason. It's just like always.
I mean, I'm not gonna stop him.
It's hilarious. I love it. I
And
love
then
it.
Adam
I love the
Schefter's
combo.
trying to do it with him, tearing his MCL.
Okay, so here's
No,
the
no,
thing,
no, no.
right?
Okay, let's save the Adam Schefter shit for later, right? Because
No,
we
no,
got a
no,
lot to talk about.
no, no, no. I'm not talking about shit there. I'm talking
Okay.
about this.
Okay.
So here's the thing, right? So when it comes to the whole Bengal situation, right? Everybody, including us, especially us, you know, the whole situation around the Bengals this past season was, why didn't they draft Penei Sewell? Literally, the whole entire point of
Yeah.
this draft was to make sure that
Mhm.
Joe Burrow was not going to, you know, die on the
Die,
football
yeah.
field again, right? Literally. But you know, they took a really hard you know, chance, and they picked obviously the best wide receiver in this draft. Let's be real.
Not even close.
Not even close.
It's not
right?
close.
So here's the thing. I saw something today that really made me think about it, and I want your opinion. I saw something that said, are O linemen as valuable as they were back in the day? Let's think about it this way. What do we always say? This is a passer's league, right?
Yeah.
It's a passer's league. Okay. Back in the day, O-line, like, you know, us as Cowboy fans, we all know, a couple of years ago, we had by far the most dominant offensive line in the NFL, right?
In probably history.
Yeah. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Lyle Collins, you know, Travis Frederick. Before it was Connor Williams, it was he went to Denver. I forgot his name. Oh, this is very disrespectful of me.
Oh my god, I know who you're talking about. I see his face. I can't tell you the name.
This is very disrespectful of me. Okay, well, I'm sorry.
I
Well,
know
anyway,
exactly what you're talking about. I'm pretty sure people that are listening know what you're talking about.
yeah. So here's the thing, right? So now we're in this transition where it's like, okay, yes, you know, is it enough to have a mediocre offensive line that gives you just enough time to, you know, like as Joe Burrow said in an interview a couple weeks ago, F it, Jamar Chase is down there somewhere, right?
It's true. It's true.
I mean, if it works, should I guess so? My question is this: do you feel like offensive linemen are not as valued as they were a couple years ago?
How can I genuinely give you a answer of like they are valued more now, or that they should be valued more now, when you literally had Joe Burrow win a playoff game when he was sacked 9 times? How can you honestly make the argument that having the best offensive line in football is necessary or in order for you to win a Super Bowl? Because that's been the motto in Dallas. That's been the motto in Kansas City. Like literally in the past year, we literally had a Super Bowl to where Kansas City Chiefs players, or not players, fans, analysts, reporters said, as long as they fix this offensive line, they'll be back in the Super Bowl next year. And they did. They truly fixed that offensive line and made it one of the best units in football. And yet here they are going to be watching the Super Bowl from home.
Yeah.
While Joe Burrow has literally no one protecting him. And that's why I'm a little bit scared about the matchup against Aaron Donald and Von Miller in the Super Bowl. When you win a game with 9 sacks, you gave up 9 sacks, and your offensive line was absolutely atrocious. It hasn't gotten a lot better. There were games throughout the season to where you're like, this is a fucking shit show. Remember the Bears game?
Yeah.
Remember that game to where they literally got sacked every single play of the game, whether it was Justin Fields or Joe Burrow? We thought, oh, the Bengals are just, they don't know what they're doing. And I love Jamar Chase, but why didn't you go after a highly rated offensive lineman? Yet here they are proving us wrong. It may not end in a Super Bowl win, but you know what? To get to this point with that bad of an offensive line, credit to them. And this is where I want to lead into my next conversation, is that we're looking at 2 teams here in the Super Bowl, the Rams and the Bengals. They both bought in. And what I mean by bought in, it's 2 different ways of looking at it. The Rams...
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Exactly, right? So the Rams bought in by saying, we're going to get rid of all of our draft picks. We're literally not going to draft next year. We're going to sell players. We're going to trade players. We're going to sign a bunch of guys, veterans, young guys. It doesn't matter. We're bringing in all these guys because we're buying in. It doesn't matter. We are not for the 5 years from now. We are now. Sean McVay and this front office is doing great things, in my opinion. Whether or not this leads to a Super Bowl win, same thing with the Bengals. If it leads to a Super Bowl win, great. If it doesn't, I'm all for it, though. Because you know what? You tried. Some of these other teams are too scared to buy in. And these players are like, look, we went out and got Von Miller. We went out and got OBJ. We are trying to win this Super Bowl. It is up to us now. Because it's not an excuse of like, oh, well, we didn't have a great secondary. Oh, well, our defensive front could have used a little bit more pressure. You know,
went out and got retired Eric Weddle
Eric
for the
Weddle
playoffs.
just decided one day to be like, do I want to win a Super Bowl? Fuck it. Let me go back.
Sure, why not?
And Sean McVay's like, cool, we'll sign you. I'm going to get all this money from my fucking like bank account from Barbados that doesn't seem to have a limit. And I'm going to get you on this team. Yeah. Like they are finding ways to pay all these players. Salary cap doesn't mean shit to them. But you know what? That's ballsy, and I love it because at least you're going for it. You're
so
not.
Far, it's obviously working.
It's working. They're there, right? Matthew Stafford. I even mentioned Matthew Stafford. Like they went out and got a better quarterback because they're like, it's win now or never. Yeah. The Bengals. They said we're buying in. Zach Taylor in a win or fire year. Yeah. Joe Burrow in a comeback player of the year candidate or bust year.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon, all these yards, what does he have to show for it? Nothing. AJ Green leaves. All you got left is Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. Did you really need a wide receiver that high in the draft? Probably not. Nope. You could seriously make that argument. This defense, I mean, we got a good amount of players. We got Chidobe Awuzie. We got Eli Apple, who still
came back.
Trey Hendricks. And, like, they are making moves, but is it really going to do much? You know, they're trying. And then, like, at some point, even after, like, a good start to the season, they're winning a few games. They're losing to really bad teams. They lost to the Jets. They lost to the Jaguars. Like they're the Bengals. They're better, but they're not great, right? They were never the best team in the AFC, even when they were the number one seed, technically. They weren't the best team in the AFC. But at some point, they looked at Joe Burrow and said, this is the guy. This is our guy that's going to take us far. And they all bought in. They said, we have a pretty good defense. Jamar Chase is, and I was wrong for this. You were right. He is the offensive rookie of the year. Mm-hmm. Hands down. Because what this man has done over the last few months is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Jamar, T, Tyler, Joe Mixon. Samaje Perine, of all people. And even he played so well on Sunday. Even through all the bad that is the offensive line, they find ways to win. And I think this is where the comparison between the Cowboys and the Bengals is really close. Because you have on one side a team that bought in and said, this team is special. Both teams have said that. The Bengals say that they're special. Like, something about this year is special. Cowboys said the same thing. But guess what? They take it into their own hands in Cincinnati, while Dallas thinks that everything's going to be given to them. So both teams bought in, but in different ways. Same thing with the Rams and the Bengals. They bought in. They said, we are special in Cincinnati. The Rams are saying, we're just going to get everybody that's great, and we're just going to make it work. Is that going to last for 4 to 5 years like it is in Cincinnati? No. But we're trying to win now, not 5 years from now.
At the end of the day, though, what does it matter when you're holding up the trophy?
Exactly. Like, no one's going to give a shit if you have no draft picks or that you're bad for the next 5 years. The Cincinnati Bengals could be bad for the next 5 years. It doesn't matter. You made it to the fucking Super Bowl. You got there. You were an embarrassment. You were laughable when it came to playoff performances. Now you find your way beating the Raiders, who were actually pretty good. You beat the Chiefs, who were pretty damn good.
Titans with the return of Derrick Henry.
The return of Derrick Henry, and you were still able to stop that team and create turnovers. That's impressive.
And now you beat possibly the next Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
you did like it's phenomenal how they did it too, because like we give a lot of credit to Joe Burrow, and it's in, like we give him a lot of praise, right? But the play of the game was that interception in overtime.
oh yeah,
Von Bell made a play.
Mm-hmm.
That's Trey on that defensive line. What was so tired? Trey Hendrickson played his heart out. The man was gassed on the sideline because he was trying to chase Patrick Mahomes. But guess what, man? That man is a fucking monster. He doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the best pickups of this entire year. And it probably will go unsaid because he had a good career in New Orleans with the Saints. But I think he's playing even better now with the Bengals.
I don't think a lot of people really understand because, like you just said a while ago, all the praise is going to Joe Burrow because he's flashy. He's the face of the Bengals, right?
He's a likable guy.
Joe Shiesty,
very likable.
Joe Brrr, Joe whatever, right? But the thing is this, right? I don't think a lot of people are understanding that the Chiefs scored 3 points in the second half.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the Chiefs that have literally 4 superstars on their offense. Their quarterback, their tight end, their receiver, and if you want to call Clyde a superstar, not yet there.
No, but I think it's fair to say that they have a very good backfield.
He's a star, right? So, look, 3 points. Yeah. You stopped the Kansas City Chiefs with 3 points in 30 minutes
on the road.
On the road, might I add. Yeah, I think there's something to be said with how resilient. Look. A lot of teams, Cowboys, when you're down 21-3 by halftime, dude, that's a punch in the gut, man.
Yeah.
That is a big, big punch in the gut. And you come all the way back and hold them to 3 points on the road in the AFC Championship game. There's a lot that has to be said about that defense. So, look, so we can move on to the NFC Championship. Joe Burrow, good for you, man. You're playing out of your mind. You're playing great. Cincinnati defense, do it again. You're going to need it. Man. Also, by the way, we're giving a lot of credit to Mr. Cold over there in Joe Burrow. Hey, Shooter McPherson? Cold.
Shooter!
Cold, man. 12 for 12, might I add, in the playoffs as a rookie? Hey. Dude, that's why you draft a kicker.
I gotta go back to when I did the evaluation for the Bengals draft class because I don't know if I genuinely gave a evaluation on Evan McPherson, but I was like, you know what? He was the best kicker in all of college football last year. They got him pretty high in the draft, but considering that they need a kicker, I think this is a really good guy. And you know what? We'll see what happens. Other than the Green Bay game, which really stands out to me because that was a absolute blast to watch. Horrible game for kickers. That was the week where everybody was a bad kicker.
Yeah.
Right?
It was bad.
Anything before and after that, man, Evan McPherson is an absolute cold motherfucker.
Didn't he go into the playoffs making his last 20 or something like that? And now he's 12 for 12 in the playoffs with 2 game winners. Insane.
He's got to have. I think he has 5 game winning field goals this year.
I refuse to believe that there's anything else but ice in that guy's veins. As cliche as it sounds, that's insane. I don't think ordinary people understand the amount of pressure that goes into literally having a kick decide if you win and advance. That's insane. Good for him. Good for him. Good for him.
Dude, Evan McPherson is really damn good. Shooter
McPherson.
Watch out for my TikTok because I made a video on that because I saw the clip of they one of the guys, he's like shooter and he gives him a little handshake and then everybody comes out and they're like shooter. I love that clip. That's such a pure, genuine moment. of like,
Yeah.
we love this guy. Like, he literally gives us all the joy in the world. Okay.
Oh man.
Like, honestly, I know this is kind of a spoiler for our Super Bowl preview, but we both agree that we want to see the Bengals win,
Yes.
but we think the Rams are going to win.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I think the logical thing of like, well, they gave up 9 sacks and you're going against Von Miller and Aaron Donald. I'm pretty sure you're not going to survive.
Yeah, no.
But if Joe Shiesty does it,
on paper,
on
the
paper,
Rams should win this game. Come on.
Who wins on cap space though? Because the Bengals definitely do.
You know, here's the thing though about these Rams, and this is a good way to talk about the NFC Championship. Here's the thing about these Rams, right? So, like you said earlier, you know, the Rams literally decided, oh, you know, let's just become a super team. I really feel that's what Stan Kroenke said.
Yeah.
Just one day, he's like, you know what? Like, let's just become a super team. Let's stop playing scared. Let's get rid of literally all our draft picks. We're not drafting until like my son is my age, you know, and let's just go for it, right? They went out and got Matt Stafford. By the way, once again, I was also correct. Matt Stafford, top 5 quarterback this year. Just saying. So,
top 5?
oh, is he in the Super Bowl?
Yes, but I
He
think
was top 5 in passing. Yeah,
but it doesn't mean you're the top 5 quarterback in the league.
Am I right or am I wrong?
Off the top of my head, I think you're wrong.
Okay. Well, subjective opinion. But he's in the Super Bowl. So you go out and you get Matt Stafford for a boatload of picks, right? Let's be real. I mean, that was the biggest move they made, right? So then after that, they're like,
Jared Goff.
Oh. Who
won the trade though?
Yeah, right.
Who won the trade?
Dude. Oh God. So you go and get Matt Stafford, right? And they're like, all right, let's let's go into it. You lose Cam Akers. Damn, that's rough. Sony Michel, great replacement, right?
For sure.
Daryl Henderson, Sony Michel, great replacement, right? I mean, you know, it is what it is, but it is what it is. But anyway, Von Miller. Hey, you want to come win a Super Bowl, Von? Sure. Why not? I guess.
He's like, is this 2015?
Like, come bring in Von Miller, right? Oh, damn. Robert Woods. He tore your ACL.
Oh.
Sorry, man.
Here we go.
Hey, OBJ. Hey, OBJ. You want out of Cleveland? Because you know, we, the smart people here, know that it's Baker's fault. We know that it's Baker's fault.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Now you're just really digging in there.
You know, we know it's Baker's fault. Don't worry, man. Don't worry. Your dad's right. I hate that video, honestly, but it's funny.
It's a funny video.
It's funny, but I hate that video. Right?
So petty.
Anyway, come on over, OBJ. And he's all like, you know what? Yeah, let me go to a real quarterback. Okay. So he goes to LA. Mind you, he's only played, what is it now? 9 games? 10 games? 11 games?
Yeah.
Something like that? Yeah.
It's only been a
He
few
has
months.
7 touchdowns. Oh. What a coincidence. in a third of the games that he's played with the Los Angeles Rams, mind you, 3 of them are in the playoffs, something that they could never do in Cleveland. Oh, what do you know? He's not washed. I wonder why I'm talking about this so much. Anyway, now look at these Rams. They're in the Super Bowl. They look like the favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Their defense looks pretty damn good. Their offense looks like Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though. How can you stop Cooper Kupp, right? Dude, I don't even remember the last time Cooper Kupp was held under 100 yards in a game. Let's be real, right?
Yeah.
Look, these Rams are really something else, man. They really caught my surprise. Because, you know, the Rams looked like one of those teams where it was like, oh, yeah, they're good. But, you know, there's something about them. Don't think they're going to go, right? Like halfway towards the season, that's what we all thought,
they
right?
didn't convince us that they were legit. Like, they weren't ready.
They didn't give you that, like, oh, yeah, like, they're going to Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
But look, man, here's the thing. And we've always said this. Everybody knows this. In the NFL, once the playoffs start, That's a new season. Everything that happened in the regular season, who cares? This is your new season now. You play 60 minutes of football. Shit, if you're the underdog, who cares? You go out there and punch him in the mouth. Do whatever you got to do to win, right? In this case, punching him in the mouth is Matt Stafford connecting with Cooper Kupp for like 5 touchdowns every week. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
He
if
can't be stopped.
you're OBJ, you're just shitting on everybody's chest.
Apparently it's working though. So
Yeah.
look, man. So look, man. All I'm gonna say is this. So I can hand it off to you. These Rams are playing absolutely fearless, right? I'm not gonna lie to you. A little bit in that San Francisco game, looked a little scary.
Hey,
Looked a little scary. Looked a little
could
scary.
have been better.
But look, all I'll say is this. Good riddance, Jimmy G.
With that said, the 49ers have reported that they are seeking trades for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Look,
Shocker.
Man, here's the thing. I've always gave Jimmy G the benefit of the doubt, right? Because I've always said, and I've always had this opinion, being a good game managing quarterback in the NFL, it's not a bad thing.
It can get you
not. It's not. I hate the stigma of game manager as like an insult. It's not an insult, right? Look how far Kirk Cousins has gone in this league, right? But look, all I'm saying is this. Jimmy G deserves another chance. I think he does. But here's the thing. When you have a team like the 49ers that, look, I think everybody could agree here that the 49ers were the scrappy group that came into these playoffs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, halfway through the season, we already wrote them off. They weren't going anywhere.
Well,
they were trash.
They needed to win in the last week of the season in order to get in.
Exactly.
Like, this wasn't a playoff team until the last second.
They came in and they knocked off the frauds. I mean, Cowboys. They came in.
Damn.
And yet, they go into freezing Lambeau Field and say goodbye to Aaron Rodgers to the city of Green Bay. And you go in and you almost beat the Rams again?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Look, you can only throw for 145 yards a game so many times.
Right, yeah.
Until it finally bites you in the ass.
Exactly.
Look, no disrespect to Jimmy G. I feel like it's time for something new with him, right? There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that once they get a new system, once they get a new team around them, they flourish, right? But it's just not the answer in San Francisco anymore, man. It's not.
No, but like, okay, so with Jimmy G, he's going to be a starter next year.
Absolutely. I think he should be a starter. He should be.
I don't think so.
There's a lot of teams that don't have a lot of options right now.
Exactly. But you shouldn't base your quarterback decision on desperation. You shouldn't base it on like, we have nothing else and we can't get anything else.
That's the problem.
Yeah, I know. It's just a hard place to start from. Like, if you're starting with Jimmy G and saying, yeah, I guess, like, that's the problem. But there is NFL teams out there that say, oh, Jimmy G, we want him. We want him. But that's delusional. That's the problem, is that some of these teams are weirdos. So I think he'll be a starter next year, but it's definitely not going to be because he deserves it. Not because he is the best quarterback to win you a Super Bowl. It's because he's the best quarterback on our roster. That seems to me a very lackluster reason to start Jimmy Garoppolo. For the 49ers, I am sick and tired of hearing Kyle Shanahan slander. This man, I personally would love to have Kyle Shanahan as my head coach if it was the Cowboys or whatever team that you have. If there are teams where I'll be like, no, keep the guy you have. But if there is an opportunity to get a better head coach, I think Kyle Shanahan can be one of those coaches because he's offensive minded. He's still very young. He still has a lot to learn. He has a great coaching tree. He comes from Sean McVay. He comes from Zach Taylor. Like, he comes from a really good tree, the Shanahan tree. And he's only going to get better with age. So if the 49ers want to get rid of him, cool. I think if any NFL team is looking at a head coach still, it's Kyle Shanahan, hands down, right? But what I love about Kyle Shanahan is not the offensive, like, genius, the schemes, the plays. It's the fact that they're just so scrappy. They are so physical, and they say, we're the underdogs? All right, bet. We're going to go into your house and prove you wrong. That defense.
In the mouth.
Yeah. Punch you in the mouth. I don't feel like Kyle Shanahan gives me that vibe off the top, like literally just by looking at him. But every single team that he's had, whether it's good or bad, last year when they were injury prone all year long,
We're still competitive.
they were still so fucking competitive. And that's so undervalued in this league. If you can get your team to believe in you, even when times are rough, that's a head coach you want to believe in. That's a guy you want to bring into your organization.
Yeah, Dan Campbell.
Exactly. Like they won what, 4 games?
Yeah, 3-4 games, I think.
But I feel like I feel like they're more secure with their head coach than a Dallas Cowboys team that went 12-5.
I feel like you go into that Detroit Lions locker room and ask any player in that locker room, would you run through a brick wall for Dan Campbell? Hell yeah, they would.
Would you
Absolutely.
take a bullet for Dan? Fuck yeah, I would. I'd take 5.
Go ask Micah that, and he'll be like, yeah?
Like he'll give you the professional etiquette. But as soon as you bring up Dan Quinn, oh, Dan Quinn. Oh my God. I owe everything to Dan Quinn. But would you say that about Mike? Would you really say that about? But that's my point, is that Kyle Shanahan is one of those guys where you're like, look, we don't have a great quarterback. Like, let's be honest, if you ask those 49er players, like if you ask Debo, it's like, imagine what Debo can be with Matthew Stafford. Crazy, right? It would be a Cooper Cup year. But with Jimmy G, you're like, yeah, we make it work. But yet, through that, Kyle Shanahan has all these players under his wing and says, let's go win it. And they were so damn close to doing it.
Look. This is the only thing I'm going to say about these 49ers, so we can move on. All I'm going to say is this. You see how they're able to move around some people and make them look really good in really offset offensive positions? Debo is running back 1, wide receiver 1, tight end number 1, safety number 1, linebacker number 3. Like, he's everything, right? Even Elijah Mitchell looks like another Christian McCaffrey, right? This dude can catch passes. Like, he's insane, right? George Kittle, GOAT tight end, right?
Uh-huh.
Look, I'm just saying, I know they made it to the NFC Championship. I know they had a great season. Can you imagine if they drafted Justin Fields like they should have?
Oh, don't remind me.
Can you imagine having to worry about Debo Samuel coming this way, Elijah Mitchell going down the middle, Brandon Ayuk coming the other way, and still having to worry about Justin Fields?
And a moving pocket.
With
an improved offensive line, by the way.
Trent Williams, greatest pickup they had.
Best left tackle in football. Sorry, Tyron Smith.
Can you imagine the absolute misdirection they could cause? As if they already don't, right? But can you imagine? Look, I'm just saying.
Trey Lance can be that. Trey Lance could be that. But you are taking a shot in the dark because that man is still learning the position. And it's going to take time. And I just don't think it's going to be done like that. It's going to take 3 to 4 years, and I don't know if Kyle Shanahan has another 3 or 4 years. I know I just praised him, but I don't believe that John Lynch and this organization is going to give him that time, rather than just bringing in another great head coach and being like, all right, we have all this, make it work.
Go do something with it, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's briefly talk about Tom Brady, because really...
Super brief. We didn't talk about it that much.
Like,
let's be real.
What can we really say about Tom Brady? You know, like, I feel like the story today is more that Adam Schefter got it right this time than Tom Brady actually retiring.
Yeah. Look, man, here's the thing. Tom Brady, by far is the, and I'm gonna choose my words correctly here. Tom Brady is the most accomplished and best quarterback we've ever seen in the NFL.
Hands down.
Hands down.
Not even close.
He deserves all the respect that he's gotten. He deserves all the respect that he will be getting in the future from, all these people that are, all these new fans. Oh, Tom Brady was the GOAT. Tom Brady was this and that, right? Honestly, though, one thing I will say that was good for him. I'm glad he made this decision. I'm really glad he did. I'm not trying to be those like, oh, Tom Brady's finally out of the league. Somebody else can finally. No, 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 no. I feel like in general, I really think it was time for Tom Brady. Look, man, TB12 apparently is God's substance that can literally make you do anything until you're 70. But look, man, to a certain extent, even I have to agree, it's time, man. Go enjoy yourself. Go enjoy your kids. Go enjoy your wife. Go enjoy your life. I mean, come on, man. It's time. It's time.
He'll make more money in the next year than he's done his entire career.
Absolutely. And look, we all know the sentiment that all these football players have. It's for the love of the game, right? You know, we all understand that, right? Well, let's be real. We understand that in a superficial value, but we understand why they are that way, right?
Yeah.
But look, man, Tom Brady, it's one of those things with Tom Brady. It's like, you are so good at what you've done these last 22 years of your career. What else could you possibly do to make yourself even better? Exactly. You already did it. Tom Brady has established a standard in this league that right now, literally the only person in the NFL that looks like can do it again is Patrick Mahomes. That's it. That's it. Like, the standard is so high that if it weren't for Patrick Mahomes, I really don't see anybody even being close to even becoming that standard at all. Because, you know, we can say Aaron Rodgers, right? Because Aaron Rodgers is by far the most talented quarterback until Patrick Mahomes that we've ever seen, right? But it's because, man, how can you sit here and not say that winning 7 Super Bowls as a player yourself, winning 5 MVPs, winning 3 Super Bowl MVPs, All Pro, Pro Bowl, as much as he did, dude, you know, the saying might be cliche, but he literally exists in a category of his own. That is how insane, how dominant he was at playing this game. And, you know, as a football fan, Tom, congratulations. Thank you for all the years you've given us. Absolutely insane run you've been on. But, man, I'm happy for you. It's time. Go be with your family. It's time to be the family man that, you know, I'm not trying to be an ass, but it's time to be the family man Giselle wants you to be. Because let's be real, Giselle wanted you to retire like 4 years ago.
Exactly, yeah. We've reached a point to where like we got to appreciate Tom Brady. And I think this retirement will help that, like, without a doubt, right? I was listening to the radio and they were saying like Tom Brady has become more likable over the last few years. I'm like, that is complete bullshit. I love Tom Brady because I do have an appreciation for what the Patriots did. And for them to go on that long of a run, a true dynasty. The Chiefs dynasty? Nah. Right now, that's not a dynasty. That's a good run.
Yeah.
What a true dynasty was and will ever be is the New England Patriots. And it truly starts with Tom Brady at quarterback. Bill Belichick has a lot of that credit too, but Tom Brady winning all of those championships and making incredible moments happen.
Oh yeah.
It is truly special what he brought to the league. And for both of us, we grew up knowing nothing but Peyton Manning and Tom Brady.
Oh yeah.
We got to see 2 of the best quarterbacks of all time. And we got to see Tom Brady win 7 Super Bowls. That in itself is a pleasure to watch. But by no means do I think that the majority of the people would say he's likable now. No. He is one of the most hated NFL players of all time. Yeah. Because of how successful he was. And some other reasons off the field, you know, his beliefs and all that. I'm not going to get into that. Now that we're going to get Manning cast with Eli, Tom, and Peyton.
That's amazing.
It's going to be amazing. Almost every week we're going to get that. They're going to do like the golf thing, like the match to where they go against each other. Like on a pay-per-view or whatever. Yeah.
But like Aaron Rodgers will join in as a cameo like he always does.
But they're so funny. Like they have so much good chemistry. Tom Brady will do like talk shows. He'll do more appearances. He'll be on Monday Night Football or whatever and like maybe dive into TV or something. I don't know if he'll be good at that because I feel like he gives off a weird vibe when he like talks. But overall, like he's always been a great guy. You just always hated his play because he's so successful. But now that that's gone, you can appreciate him for what he truly is, which is a good man at the end of the day. Good family man, a humble, unegotistical guy, right?
When did we ever have a ethical moral problem with Tom Brady? You know,
Right. Yeah. Like throughout all this time, it's just the guys that he plays with, aka Antonio Brown. And yet he still like was professional about it. He's like, well, I didn't really appreciate Antonio Brown saying all that stuff. Like I brought him in. Like I literally gave him a second chance and a third chance and a fourth chance.
how much of an ass do you have to be that rude to Tom Brady after everything he's done for you?
Won you a championship. Won you a championship.
There's times where I forget that Antonio Brown is a Super Bowl winning player.
I mean,
I don't-
will he
you know,
ever be considered a Super Bowl winning
No,
player?
I'm not going to count
No.
it. I'm not going to count it. No.
Exactly. But Tom Brady, like, I think he could have played another 2 to 3 years at a high level. Like, this man played at an MVP level this year. You can't argue that.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to do this, like, you should have done it last year just to kind of go off into the sunset with the Super Bowl. But if you still play at this level, I mean, credit to him. Like, why not? At least he didn't do like what some of these other quarterbacks did in your era with like Big Ben, Eli, Phillip, where you're like, yeah, dude, it was time a long time ago.
You literally descended into being a horrible shell of yourself.
Exactly. Like I don't want to see Tom like that. I don't.
Yeah.
So for him to go out like this, credit to him, man. Adam Schefter got it right. The greatest thing that I saw today was Adam Schefter tweeting, Tom Brady has officially retired. And in my mind, the first thing that come to mind, are you sure? And then the first comment on that tweet was, are you sure? You sure about that one, Adam?
Oh man, Tom Brady, good for you, man. It's been a lovely ride. Can't wait to see what you do next.
Good for you. You look happy and healthy.
Yeah. You know what's the worst thing I saw today is that apparently there's some teams that are racist.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So last thing that we'll talk about. Whoa, what happened to my thing? Okay.
Allegedly. Let's remember to say that. Allegedly.
We're
know
allegedly.
for a fact.
Brian Flores, who we absolutely adore, and we were wondering why it was taking so long for him to get a job in the NFL.
Well, now we know why.
Turns out no one wanted to give him a fucking job. Okay, so any of you that have not read into this and want to know more about it, like this is what I wanted to really talk about in this podcast. And we have a good amount of time, but I don't want to spend another like 30 to 45 minutes on it. So Brian Flores and a legal team have decided to sue the NFL and 3 teams, the Giants, the Dolphins, and the Broncos. These are very important because all these teams, crucial teams in head coaching vacancies, and the Dolphins answering the question as to why they fired Brian Flores in the first place. So he is suing them on the allegation of racism and hiring practices. So after getting fired by Miami last year, Brian Flores has alleged Dolphins owner Stephen Ross of attempting to incentivize him for tanking. We always talk about tanking, and we always kind of like joke around about it, goof around of like this team should tank so they can get a better position in the draft. Is it the worst thing in the world to do it? No. Does it happen in the NFL? Maybe, based on this report.
Apparently, it might.
But I would take it to my grave that it has happened before, right?
Yeah.
But Brian Flores has said that shortly after he was hired in 2019, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, Brian Flores allegedly said that he was offered $100,000 for every loss that season. And that when they started winning a lot more games late in the year, that Ross was mad at Flores for the on-field success for compromising their draft position. Yeah. There's also talks of stories by Brian Flores that, you know, they wanted to bring in a different quarterback for meetings, and they kind of like, they made Brian Flores kind of fall into like, oh, you came at the right place at the right time. It just so happened that we have our quarterback that we want to bring in and we want to do a meeting all of the sudden. And that's tampering clearly in the NFL. So Brian Flores said that he was pissed off about this, that he was mad that this happened. He would walk off and completely neglect that those meetings ever happened or didn't want to be a part of it. With the Giants, he is alleging that there was a malpractice in the compliance of the Rooney Rule, or
the way he found out was devastating.
Yes, that part's crazy.
When I was reading this story, I could not believe how devastating that.
Yeah.
Oh God! Even thinking about it now is just making me upset. I can't believe it.
Long story short, he was brought in for an interview with the Giants. The only reason he was brought in, not because of his great run with the Miami Dolphins and their success and what he brings to the table as far as like making these players really play well, even though he doesn't have the best roster. It was just to satisfy the Rooney Rule of like, you must have a candidate for your head coach and for your GM. If you're looking for those positions, they have to be a minority. Let's just save the Rooney Rule for a second.
We'll get to that in a bit.
Bill Belichick, who has been a crucial part of Brian Flores' coaching career, worked with him 10 years in New England, text Brian Flores saying, "You are the guy for the job. They are telling me that you are the guy for the job." Then Bill Belichick clarified afterward, because Flores was confused that he was hearing that different guys were getting the position. Text read that Bill Belichick said, "Sorry, I effed up. I double-checked and misread the text. I think they were naming Brian Dabble, who is now the head coach of the New York Giants. I'm sorry about that." That's from Bill Belichick. Lastly,
that's devastating.
It's very devastating. But this one hurts the most because this was the move that made the most sense for me. Denver Broncos. And this one was rough. Brian Flores, once again, alleges that there was malpractice in his hiring process and said that, paraphrasing, the Broncos came into the interview late and John Elway came in an hour late. He was hungover and said that he went out the previous night and went home late. So that's the reason why he wasn't given a proper interview. And the Broncos have come out. The Giants have also, or basically all of these teams have said, no, none of that's correct. We value our hiring process and none of it was malpractice. Okay. Now, the Rooney Rule is bullshit.
It's an absolutely stupid rule. I can't believe it's actually a thing. I don't know who decided to let this go by, but it was ridiculous.
Look, at my old job that I quit abruptly because of just how they treated me, and it was the worst experience of a workplace I've ever had. This reminds me of one day where I went into work, calm, easy, at my desk, and I saw that 2 people were missing from the same office that we worked in. There was about 6 or 7 people that work in the same office space as I do. I noticed that 2 of them were gone. Someone comes up to me and says, "Hey, just wanted to let you know that you came into close contact with somebody and they have COVID." And I was clearly, I could tell like who it was. And I was like, "Okay, so what do you want me to do?" And they're like, are you vaccinated?" I was like, "Yes. But I can still catch it." And they're like, "Oh, well then you're fine. But if you do want to go get tested, that you can do that, but we're legally obligated to tell you that you have come into close contact with somebody." And I said, "Okay, do you need me to leave?" And they said, "No, just keep working. But we're legally obligated to tell you this." In the NFL, you go up to a GM or an owner, and you said, "Hey, just want to let you know that if you're going to hire somebody, just make sure that you interview someone of color or of a minority, because we're legally obligated by the Rooney Rule, to do so." "Okay, but do you want me to hire a person of minority?" No, you don't have to. But you have to interview them at least. We're obligated to tell you that.
It's ridiculous.
What's the difference? What's the fucking difference? I can literally just, you're telling me that all I have to do is interview a guy of color, a guy of a minority, just so I don't look racist, and then hire the white guy that comes in the next day. That's all I need to do, right? Basically. But just don't make it look bad. Like add a few black people. I know that sounds like really harsh of me, but that's what it is. That truly is what it is. because I'm looking at dude. I am looking at these completed interviews by these teams. The Giants, they brought in Leslie Frazier, black man, defensive coordinator for the Bills, who is a great candidate. Was a head coach before, and has really made a case for him to be a head coach again. Brought in a second interview. They also interviewed Brian Flores. They interviewed Patrick Graham, who is also black, who works with the Giants. That didn't make sense to me. I don't know why you would interview him because the Giants have been an absolute atrocity. You had the second interview with Brian Dabble, who they now hired, Dan Quinn, and Lou Anarumo. Jesus, that's hard to say. I'm trying to say Tony Romo, that's why. But he's the Cincinnati Bengals defensive coordinator. That's all they had, right? So maybe that's not so bad, considering, like Dan Quinn makes sense. Lou, the defensive coordinator for the Bengals, that makes sense, but I don't know if I would hire him for the job. Brian Dabble is definitely a high candidate. Patrick Graham, no. Brian Flores, yes. Leslie Frazier, maybe, right?
Yeah.
So the Giants, to me, is like, that's tough to say. Then you look at the Broncos. Confirmed reported candidates off the Denver Broncos website. Eric Bieniemy. Makes sense, right? But how many years has Eric Bieniemy gone through the process and not been hired? Stay with me here. At this point, Eric Bieniemy gets the job in Kansas City. He knows that Andy Reid is going to retire soon. And the Kansas City Chiefs have went up to him and say, hey, just stick around. We're going to give you that job. And you can stay with Patrick Mahomes however long you want to be. That's your job. What was the case 3 years ago? Was that the same case? Because Andy Reid was going to stay for another 4 or 5 years. They had just won the Super Bowl. They were on their way to the Super Bowl. So was Eric Bieniemy going to stay that entire time? No, I think there's something more to it. Brian Callahan, Bengals offensive coordinator, white guy. Jonathan Gannon, Eagles defensive coordinator, white guy. Luke Getsy, Packers quarterback coach and passing game coordinator, white guy. Aaron Glenn, the Lions defensive coordinator, black man. But can we really say that he's a strong candidate for a head coaching job after one somewhat good year with the Lions, where they still went 4-12 and won? Nathaniel Hackett, who is the Denver Broncos head coach now, white guy. Jared Mayo, black guy, Patriots inside linebackers coach, who's been getting a little bit of talk, but I think he's going to stay in New England for a bit more. Kellen Moore, white guy. Kevin O'Connell, white guy. Dan Quinn, white guy. What I want to know, and I think this was a bad idea to publicize the lawsuit. What I think should have been done is the law firm of Brian Flores should go out and interview all of these candidates that interview for the Denver Broncos job and ask them, and except for Nathaniel Hackett, because he's not going to say anything bad about his new team. Everybody else, how was your interview process? Was there anything strange about it? Did John Elway act different? Was he hungover? Was he late? If they show any form of malpractice to any of these other guys, then we have an issue. It's not a racism issue. It's a bad organization and bad, just basic human decency. Like John Elway should not have a job after this. If it's everybody else, or if it's no one but Brian Flores, then we can start talking about racism. But honestly, just off my initial impressions, Kevin, and I'm sorry that I went on a tangent and I named all of those different names. I just want to get all that information out. But I think it's more about basic, fundamental doing your job and lack thereof with these organizations, because the Broncos don't know what they're doing. The Giants definitely don't know what they're doing. And the Miami Dolphins firing Brian Flores, there's something wrong there, because they went back-to-back years winning seasons. And you could truly say that they could have made the playoffs both of those years. There's something there. You could have grown something. I think this is more of that than there is racism, but I'm not saying whatsoever that there's not racism in this league, because that Rooney Rule is bullshit.
The Rooney Rule, I don't think there's a lot to say after that, but I just think the Rooney Rule is ridiculous because it's one of those things that It's literally just a cover up. That's all it is. Let's be real. The When you are being looked at for a job, the only thing that should be looked at are your merits. Are you
Exactly.
qualified for this position? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
No? Okay, leave. Yes? Okay, we'll bring you around for another interview.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that. Um, Look, in no way, shape, or form do we want to make this more political than it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But all I'm going to say is this: there have been a lot of things that have gone on in this country recently that I'm going to choose my words very carefully here. Their purpose was to make things more inclusive, or to make things, a little bit better for the minority groups. But in reality, all they've done is just cause more harm. Why the hell are you making a rule to where, oh, well, just like you said, just include a person of a minority group to make your team look good?
Yeah.
You don't have to hire them, or, oh, maybe they might be good. Why not? No, why are you you're bringing in people that you think are qualified for your job,
Exactly.
not because you have to. Okay? It's, like I said, I'm not going to make this more political than it should be, but I just think this rule is ridiculous. I think this rule should not be put in place. Um, you know, I think this rule should be, I don't know what's the term, recalled, stripped, whatever.
Negated.
I don't know, negated, void, whatever. It's a ridiculous rule that, you know, like we said at the beginning, this has all allegedly taken place.
Yeah.
With Brian Flores. We don't know that. Okay. For an absolute fact, we do not know if Brian Flores is lying or if he's telling the truth. We don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not pointing any fingers yet. We're not pointing anything. But I'm just saying that in the event that Brian Flores is correct, well, let's see how many more people are going to come out.
Exactly.
With their stories.
Yes. Which will be the best thing that could happen. Because as much as I love football, as much as I love the NFL for what product they give me that allows me to love my platform, the ability to do things I love and cheer for a certain team, cheer for players, I don't want to support someone who supports racism and discrimination. That's the problem.
Here's the thing too. Last thing I'll say about the situation. Like we said, this is all alleged. But if Brian Flores is lying for some whatever reason it might be, dude, what are you doing? This
Exactly.
This is gonna bring even more. There will be more harm than good done with all this. So I guess we just have to wait and see what evidence comes up, what evidence is brought to light, what interviews will be made, and what the conclusion will be. But for right now, this is all alleged. We don't know. We are just stating the facts. Well, we are stating what has been brought to the media's attention.
That's been reported, yes.
Simple as that. So, but I think we can both agree here that besides all that, in general, the Rooney rule should be negated. It's a stupid rule. It should not be there. It's literally just a rule that states, oh, just make us look good. What?
Yeah.
Why? What are you doing?
Save us from the fire type thing. Okay.
Ridiculous.
Brian Flores is putting his entire career on the line for this.
Mm-hmm.
That man had the balls to do that.
Yep.
Like, he honestly could have gotten a job somewhere. Like, head coaching or not. Someone, somewhere, would have been like, we want you here. Not every team's racist. Not every team is trying to blackball you out of this league. For Brian Flores to make the decision a few weeks after getting fired and going through this process and realizing what's going on, allegedly, That is a ballsy play, man.
Very ballsy play.
Very ballsy play.
And look, like we said, if it does come up to light, my 100% absolute respect to him, because he just risked his passion. Like he said in the statement.
Loves football.
He said in the statement
football.
that he understands that he will not be able to coach in this league anymore, unfortunately. And I hope that's not the case, because it is ridiculous. It would be an absolute travesty if he can't. But we will see what comes up.
It's the elephant in the room is clearly Colin Kaepernick. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of why Colin Kaepernick is so important to this. What I want to do is base what happened with Colin and what's going to happen with Brian. Colin went through all this trouble, and I agree with him on certain things that he did. I don't think all of it was perfect, but his intention was to bring awareness to social injustice and discrimination and racism to this country. I applaud him for that. And I applaud Brian Flores for doing this, for putting this to the public.
It's true.
The intention is correct, and it's for the good. It's the greater good.
Yeah.
What Colin did wrong was make it more about himself. Taking the Nike ad, making it about himself and trying to get back into the league and trying to win a job. And he's like, well, no one's giving me a shot. Maybe it could also be because you're not that great of a quarterback anymore. Like, I think we were past the prime of Colin Kaepernick, so it just wasn't the right timing for him. And then it was kind of like, it's about me, more about the issue at hand. For Brian Flores, and for me, like the Colin Kaepernick thing, like the way that he portrayed himself made me feel like it was more about his gain rather than everybody else's. And I didn't believe him in a lot of some things that went down toward the end. With Brian Flores, how can I believe that he's lying? I know, like it would be perfect for him to lie because everyone's going to believe him. Like, it's a no-nonsense type of guy. But I feel like a guy that is probably in the prime of his coaching career, or reaching the prime of his career. Like, this man has learned under the best coaches of all time. He had a good stint with the Miami Dolphins statistically, and then based on what I saw on the field. Like, the eye test tells me that Brian Flores will win a Super Bowl at some point in his career as a head coach. And for him to get all of these opportunities, you know, being the hot shot head coach that could fill your vacancy, like, he was clearly one of the best candidates on the board. For him to only go through a few interviews and then say, I'm going to sue the NFL. There can't be a big disconnect there in between for me to say he's lying. He instantly said, there's something wrong here, and I'm not going to stand for it. Get a law firm, let me get millions of dollars, and I'm going to sue the NFL on these teams for the malpractice, for this Rooney rule. That is complete bullshit. I go back-to-back winning seasons. I save this team from mediocrity by losing 7-8 straight and then winning 7-8 straight. I brought this team from nothing back up with nothing really other than Jalen Waddle. What am I going to do with Tua? Yeah. Like, we tried to go for Deshaun, but I don't know what fell down in those cards. But like, we tried for Deshaun, but all we got left is Tua. I can't work with Tua. Honestly, I just really can't. Who would honestly work with Tua that would legitimately get you a strong contention in the playoffs? I don't think so. To have that, the tanking, all that stuff, and yet to go through that and still believe in that team enough to say, we're going to have a winning season. We may not win the Super Bowl. We may not go to the playoffs, but at least end strong.
Yeah.
That's my problem with it, and that's why I tend to side toward Brian Flores, because I love the guy and I love what he's done with this in the league so far. It's him against Goliath, and when are we ever going to cheer for Goliath? But in my case, David, a.k.a. Brian Flores, why shouldn't I believe him? Everything that he's given me is the truth, is that he's not going to bullshit you. He's going to tell you when you're bad. He's going to bench you if you're bad. why should I not think of that? What he does on the field is also the same thing he does off the field ethically.
I mean, you have a point, but until then, we just have to wait and see because who knows, man? Who knows what'll come out of all this? But I think, like, to end it off, I think one thing we can both agree with is what we just said earlier. Is hopefully at the end of all this, that Rooney Rule gets redacted.
It's useless. It's so useless.
Yeah.
Because you even with the rule, I just looked at a list and said there's kind of a bias going one side. Like, you can honestly say shouldn't you go for the guy that's more experienced at head coaching rather than a guy that's never been a head coach before? It's not like the other coach was bad. It's like if it was Jason Garrett against Brian Flores and Jason Garrett got hired, I'd be like, no, stop. Like, you can make the case for Brian Daboll and be like, well, Bills have been a great offense for the last 2 years, and this is an offensive league. I get that. But don't you find it weird that there's only 2 black guys getting interviewed and about 4 or 5 white guys getting interviewed? And, just statistically, throughout this time, you're telling me that Mike Tomlin, Brian Flores, guys like that are the only head coaches in the NFL that are black? The only GMs are maybe 3 or 4? Yeah. I get it. It can't all be a melting pot. It'll never be perfect. It'll always be one-sided or leaning toward one side. But in a black, what's the right word I'm looking for? A black-dominated player league, to not have many black coaches and GMs, that can't be a coincidence. That just can't be, in my opinion. So, very good talk. This was a very good episode.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Kevin, for
thanks, man. Appreciate
rising
it.
from the ashes of a common cold, of all things.
Out of everything it had to be, right?
But to come on here, go 1 hour and 12 minutes.
Yes, sir.
And to provide great content for the people of the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast, the Bubba Bunch.
As always.
Podcasts are doing great. Videos are doing great. TikToks are blowing up.
Bussin'.
It's only going to get better from here for the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for listening and for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Bubba Lutz Sports Podcast.
Yeah, hold on. Tell me who's your top 5 quarterbacks right now, dead or alive, huh? And how much do you care about a ring if the best player got carried by the team?